Contract details for Steve Sarkisian are out. Let's talk about it after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner shit.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, let's talk about the contract details of Steve Sarkisian and his coordinators, specifically Jeff Banks. But first, Sarkisian's deal is 6 years, worth $34.2 million in guaranteed money. He's going to make $5.2 million to start. By the time that this ends in 2026, he's going to make $6.2 million. But the big news here, I think, is the assistant money. We've got coordinators making over $1 million just routinely now. Sarkisian's, defensive coordinator, Pete Kwiatkowski, is going to make $1.7 million annually. Kyle Flood is going to make $1.175 million annually. That escalates to $1.25 million. Jeff Banks, special teams and tight ends coach, is going to make $1 million initially, and that bumps up by $50,000 over the next 2 years to where he's going to make $1.1 million when his contract expires in 2023. In 1996, Steve Spurrier made headlines as the first millionaire college football head coach. He made exactly $1 million annually. In 2021, we're paying special teams coordinators $1 million. And y'all got a nerve to tell me that there is no money to pay these players with, which is a bold-faced lie. But one of the reasons that we perpetuate this bold-faced lie is because these university and their athletic departments still want to operate like they are nonprofits, which might have been true 50 years ago. It is not true when you're generating over $200 million in revenue like the University of Texas is. There are at least a dozen programs that operate in the black, but they can't operate so far in the black that they raise the eyebrows of tax assessors. Because once you start operating at a prodigious profit, we're going to say you're not a nonprofit anymore. You are a for-profit organization. For-profit organization has to pay its employees, players. Now, I understand there are those of y'all that still don't believe that players should be paid, and you don't even like name, image, and likeness, which is skirting the issue, right? Because that's outside money. That's money for endorsements. That is not money that you're being paid by your employer, which is a school. It's a barter system that we employ right now, which is an education. But don't sit here and try to tell me that an education that, gonna pick on somebody here, directional Carleton State is the same as an education at Duke, at Oklahoma, at Texas, for that matter. But the details of Sarkisian's deal, I think, also bring us back to what they expect in return for this money at the University of Texas. Same as it always is. They expect to win national championships. Though Oklahoma has won the last 6 Big 12 championships, and Oklahoma has won 14 Big 12 championships, and that league has only been around since Steve Spurrier became the first millionaire head coach, 1995. Begun its fall season in 96. When we talk about money, I know there are a lot of people that get turned off by it, but we have to talk about money because money is the way in which we keep score in this country, specifically when it comes to our coaches and specifically when it comes to college football coaches. College football coaches are the stars of our sports because the sport is so transitory, right? Because it's so transitive, because we have things like the transfer portal, right? The reason that some folks say that they don't like a sport is because they see the player's movement as a bad thing. They don't get to know a player. Aight, dog. So you are lazy and you don't actually want to go and figure out who your team has each and every year. So you come to a channel like this to try to figure it out. I got you. But to say that you don't like it because it doesn't make you feel good is to say you don't like that somebody is actually making a living doing something that you aspire to do. All of us came up liking the sport and wanting to play the sport at some level. And then fate lets you know you aren't going to be a professional playing football or baseball or basketball or water polo. So you find other ways to be around the game. And other ways of being around the game for most players is coaching, administration. And then you see how much money there is to be made with television contract deals, with endorsements, with paraphernalia. Like the collegiate licensing company generates so much money. And college football is a $5 billion industry, while the NBA is about a $10 billion industry. Major League Baseball is about a $15 billion industry, depending on whether or not you want to count toward last year and so forth. Everybody's valuation is going to go down after the pandemic. And then the NFL continues to print money. It might be worth $25 billion here in about 5 years, okay? When we talk about Texas, we're also talking about a standard because they are going to set the market. They have decided they're going to set the market. They have decided we will find the money to pay you. We will find the money to fire you as well. They paid $25 million just to get rid of Tom Herman and his staff, and they're dropping another near 40 mil, actually probably in excess of 40 mil, on the new coaching staff over the next 3 to 6 years, right? I understand that you have all these guys coming from Alabama who won a national championship, who went 13-0, but they did that at Tuscaloosa. They didn't do that at Texas. Kind of like with baseball, we're paying you for what you've done elsewhere or in the past, not for what you could do potentially in the future. Fernando Tatis Jr.'s new deal, $13 million, $340 million. This time last year, it was Manny Machado, 13 years, $300 million. For work that they did in the past, for the accomplishments that they had in the past, not for what they can do in the future. I tend to believe there's an argument either way, but the money is the money, and shout out to Kyle Flood, Steve Sarkisian, Jeff Banks, Pete Wachowski for getting their loot, right? Because I'm all for people getting their loot, which is why I am an advocate for players being paid. This is their most profitable, most valuable stage in their life. These, as they say, 3 to 4 years, 3 to 5 years, are when they're going to be able to make the most money and create generational wealth for their families. And when we talk about generational wealth and we talk about who is performing the labor, more than half of college football is made up of black players, right? I think that also needs to go into accounting. When we talk about things like redlining, we talk about things like voting rights, and we talk about minorities as a number, right? But on the field, Steve Sarkisian better win, and he better win quickly. You know how to develop Casey Thompson or Hudson Card into a quarterback. I think it's going to be Casey Thompson, but that's another discussion altogether. You got to get Bijan Robinson the touches where he can be a 2,000-yard rusher and a unanimous All-American like Breece Hall was at Iowa State. You've got to win a Big 12 championship and unlock Oklahoma's vice grip on this conference, and you got to make the college football playoff and give yourself an opportunity to win this thing. All right, that's it for me. Deuces.